Appreciate you all. Yeah.
You're so fancy,
Don't do that.
I mean,
Dwyane.
both of
Making me
y'all.
blush.
My goodness.
Don't be making me blush.
Before we dive in, I want to acknowledge some things. Stephen Panker, astrology is real. Don't do that to me.
Yeah.
I'm a
was
Virgo.
crazy.
It is my identity, and I
crazy.
believe it.
That was
Also,
crazy.
ghosts and rocks have wisdom.
Yeah.
I want to thank the Zeitgeist team. There's been some amazing moments that have happened here. Thank you for D-Nice and all the magic. And on the quantum computer situation, just please be careful. They said they made a wormhole, and that shouldn't be it. We shouldn't do that.
You're funny.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Thank you. This is what we're doing. You two are change makers. You are icons. You are frustratingly attractive.
He woke up like this. He
Look
did.
at the drip. I mean, it's just,
All right.
it's a lot.
It's a
I
late
want to
night last
acknowledge
night.
some of the contribution. Kerry, your book.
Yeah.
Dwyane, your wine.
Yeah.
And your Hall of Fame speech, and the way you've both shown up is so real, so vulnerable, so authentic, and I want to understand some of where that comes from, because you've had this impact on the world, and you've done things on screen and on the court, but who you are outside of those frames is really significant, and it's moved a lot of people. Story matters so much. I'm curious how your story of yourself has changed as you've moved through your life. Who did you used to think you were? Who did you used to tell yourself you were? But it's somehow different now. Can we start with you, D. Wade?
Okay. First of all, good morning. A
Morning.
lot of wine last night.
Whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Whose fault is that?
Have a little bit of mine, George. That's a great question. You know, I look at so many moments in my life where my story took a turn down the street that I didn't even know was even possible. I didn't even know that street existed. And I think we all have moments, you know, in our journey where you don't want to go down that street, but it's a reason for you to go down that street. But you got to get down that street to understand what that reason is. And, you know, I think the first thing come to mind is 9-year-old Dwyane. I didn't know that my journey will take the road it took. But the experiences we have in life, I experienced at 9, I experienced going to prison to visit my mother. Not something a 9-year-old dream of.
Yeah.
But that moment that I only seen in movies of talking to someone you love through a plexiglass, grabbing a phone. Once I left that moment, it changed me. It changed what I vowed to be for myself, for my family. And that's the person that I try to be and try to live. I remember that day. I remember it every day, actually. And so I think we all have these moments in life where that mirror will look right back at you, that reflection of yourself will look right back at you. And it's our job and our duty to look right back at it and attack and, and approach life the way that, that needs to be in that time. And so, I think we all have these moments, and I've had a lot of shifts in my life.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Did making your documentary change your perception of your life or how you think about yourself and your legacy?
I don't know if making my documentary did, but waking up every day do. I think as an athlete, you believe that legacy is what you do on the court, right?
Yeah.
That's a lie. I'm not doing it on the court anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. So every day that I wake up and I experience life, people know me. I wake up and try to find the moments of joy, right? But experiencing life shows me that, legacy is last night. Legacy is right now. It's the people. It's the stories that is being told when we're not around about you. And so I think just life, it shows you better than anything. It's the best teacher in the world if you allow it to. And I'm not just talking about the good moments. I'm talking about the ones that suck as well, right? Like embracing it, as hard as it is. And so life has been the best teacher.
Kerry, how has your story of yourself changed?
I mean, this is something I've been talking about a lot as of late, but it's really interesting to think about having, when I listen to you, to having that clarity of, like, to have an experience at 9 that really shapes so clearly your sense of self. It was very moving for me to hear that, because I feel like I walked around for a lot of my life not exactly sure what I was doing or why or how. And I know some of you have grabbed the book because it's out there in the lobby, but is it okay if I share some spoilers from the book?
Thicker than water.
Okay. So part of why I wrote the book was because about 5 or 6 years ago, my parents sat me down and shared with me that my dad is not my biological father, that I was conceived with the help of a sperm donor. And I was 40 when they told me, and I was both shocked and also it felt like a very clarifying moment, because I had spent a lot of time in my relationship with my parents kind of feeling like there was something I didn't know, feeling like there was a secret in our home, feeling like there was a veil between us. And so for me, a lot of why I wrote Thicker Than Water was in this attempt to kind of go back and understand the story of how I've become who I've become with this new lens, this new awareness.
Yeah. How are you feeling right now?
I feel great. I'm at the
Good.
Rosewood.
It's a nice place.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
I feel really more secure with myself, more comfortable in my skin than I ever have before. Because I think in the unspoken culture of our family was a culture of secrets and performativity. Like, we were kind of performing this idea of who we were. And I didn't even know I didn't know the extent to which we were performing, but I always had this sense that I had to pretend to be somebody other than who I was. I had to pretend to be better, smarter, more successful, more confident,
And you found a career allowing you to
Yes,
pretend.
I found a career where I could use that superpower for good. But I am grateful now to have the sense that I don't have to pretend when I'm not getting paid for it. That I have spaces and places where I can be more of my authentic self.
Yeah. Y'all got me thinking about parents. Both of you have them and are them. And there are ways that our story is never just ours, right? We inherit things. We inherit projections from other people, and we project in reverse who these people are to us. And I've gone through sets of shifts with my story of my own mother, who I used to she was hero. She sacrificed and got me through the hood and did all the things. And
Well,
then
how long did that last?
40 years.
Yeah.
Literally decades and the vast majority of my life.
And then she became human.
And then she became human. Frustrating. but also, it is because you
Real.
want to, first of all, I put her in my book. It's called How to Be Black. You should buy it. But when you document a version of someone,
Yes.
and you tell the whole world, this is who I am because this is who they were.
Yes.
If they change, then I'm changing too. And I've noticed something with both of you, post this revelation. Kerry, Dwyane, in your Hall of Fame acceptance speech, the way you talked about your mother, both of you have allowed some humanity and some grace. And you have acknowledged the humanness of the folks who brought you here. And I'm curious, what else is shifting for you as the stories of your parenting shifts, or maybe how that affects the way you show up with your own kids?
Well, first of all, to acknowledge what you said about my Hall of Fame speech. I talked about my mother being her unselfishness, and I actually talked about the moment my father had to go to prison to get my mom to sign over custody of me when I was 9 years old. It was the same time. Yeah. And my mother, being unselfish, she did, which, allowed me to be in an environment that I said allowed me to blossom and dream and keep dreaming. And so I remember that, and I understood my mother's sacrifice and her unselfishness. And so I took that into my ideal of what a parent should do for their child is get out their way. If you're in their way, get out their way. And so me as a parent, and just a quick story is Zaya, my 16-year-old, my beautiful daughter Zaya. How I got to know Zaya was actually my daughter writes, and she allowed me to read some of her writing. And in the midst of reading her writing, it was through Greek mythology that she was writing. So she's smarter than me. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
It's like encryption, basically.
Yeah, it was for parents not to know what's going on.
Yes.
But we shared that. I shared the excitement and the joy of her writing and her expressing herself. And so we continue to keep sharing more. And as I read the Greek mythology and the characters that she used, I realized that she was writing a story about her life. She was using this Greek mythology and these characters to talk about the life, to tell her story. When we talk about storytelling, she was telling her story within these words. And that's who I found out who my child was. That's how I found out who my child is to this day, through her writing about a fascinating world that we do not live in, but that she had to live in, before she was able to live the life that she lives as public, where everyone has an opinion on my child. And so, I think as a parent, for me, I don't look at everything my parents did and say, I want to implement that. But I look at the moments of it being bigger than you, removing yourself, and focusing on, the actual person. And my mother did that when I was 9. My father did that when I was 9. They put me in an environment where I'm sitting here today. And so I did that when Zaya was 9, 8 to 9 when she came home, because, I had to listen to her, and she couldn't verbalize it, but she can write it. And so, just a little story about how, I went into the parenting stage.
You described what your mother did for you as getting out of the way. And the way you talked about how you've shown up for Zaya is to get out of the way. In other remarks I've seen you say, as there's so much fear and fury around trans, that it's not about you, parent. It's about your kid.
Yeah.
Get out of the way,
Yeah.
essentially. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kerry, in terms of your parenting, from being parented to being parent, and this grace that you have allowed your own parent for their choices, how and if does that show up in your style with your kids?
Yeah, it's funny. I really agree with this idea of getting out of their way. And I think about my parents, they were going to take this secret to their grave. It was very important to them that I not know that I was conceived from a sperm donor, because this was not like today when I go with my girlfriends to a sperm bank and you flip through a catalog and you can choose the Ivy League degree and the color of their eyes.
Like
this,
sperm
no,
shopping?
yes,
Yeah.
no, this was the 70s. They were renegades. This was very, experimental, and people weren't doing it. People weren't talking about it. They didn't want me to feel othered. They didn't want me to feel separate from them, which is why they were going to take it to their grave. Recently, my mom was being interviewed, and somebody said, "What's changed after the revelation?" And she said, "We're so much closer. We're less afraid to hurt each other. We're more capable of being in truth." My dad shared with me that when he was growing up, family was defined as loyalty to your secrets. That's what the mafia is. That's what every gang is. That's what families are, right? You keep each other's secrets. Yeah. And he said, so we are actually redefining the culture of our family. We're transforming the idea of what family is by saying, no, we're going to tell the truth to each other. We're going to walk in that truth together. Because part of what I realized was when my parents told me this revelation, every time I had ever said, I love you to my dad, it had been on the condition of a lie. There was some part of him that thought, she loves me because she thinks I am her dad. And if she finds out that I'm not her dad, she won't love me anymore. Yeah. And so I said to him, starting today, You're going to see what it feels like to be loved unconditionally, because I'm not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere. And everybody deserves that. Everybody deserves the ability to be who they really are in the world, to walk in their truth, and to be loved, not just anyway, but to be loved because of that, right? So there are so many things that I want to take from my parents to pass forward to my kids. You know, my mother's incredible intellectual curiosity. She's a retired professor of education. When I gave her the first draft of my manuscript, she gave me the biggest hug she's ever given me, and then she handed it to me covered in red ink and was like, I have some notes, just
real
a few
love.
notes.
That's real
But
love.
that kind of intellectual commitment, that kind of drive for excellence, I want to carry that into the next generation. I talk in the book about my dad's, you know, denial and his ability to believe in magic and that anything's possible and why not me, right? Like, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be this little girl from the Bronx who's now sitting with all of you all if my dad didn't have that sense of magic and possibility. So there are things I want to take into my parenting, put them in that backpack and keep trucking forward. There are other things that I want to end with me, that need to stop with this generation. The inability to tell the truth, that ends with me. The belief that I'm not lovable or worthy, just as who I am, that has to stop with me. There are things in my parenting that I let go of that come from my parents, and things that I carry forward. And I think that's part of the job of what we do in order to stay out of the way and not have them be little versions of me. You know, my kids are who they are. I'm here to be of service to them. That's what I think leadership in the home looks like. I think leadership in a lot of spaces is to not make this be about me, but how can I be of service to this person so that they can be their best self?
Just- This clock is telling me a number I don't believe. Because you opened a wormhole, and we can run it back. I've seen the Marvel stuff. Let me close with some of a kind of a what's next story for each of you in terms of the stories you want to tell. You both you have production companies. You tell stories. You have Simpson Street, based on where you grew up. You got 59th.
That's the name of the street my mother grew up on.
Mom grew up on, and 59th and Prairie.
Yep.
That's your home. Your
That's I was 9 years old.
yeah. So what do
Wow,
you,
we both did that with our companies. That's so crazy.
and you just found out
Wow.
right here.
Yeah.
Look at Zeitgeist.
Look at that, making
being all
connections.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you doing with that? What stories are you trying to tell next?
I mean, I guess if I had to put it into words, it would be I'm telling stories that lead with love. Those are stories I want to tell. That's my leadership quality, right? I got to know who I am, and I want it to be, you know, authentic. And so I want to tell stories that lead with love, that lead with compassion, that lead with empathy, understanding, supporting, empowering. You know, just genuine care for someone's well-being. Like I believe in it, you know, and I don't believe in love in a sense of falling in love and that nothing is going to be wrong. That's not the love I'm talking about. This is real, authentic love, and you know, it goes no further than my kids. You know, they're my light. You know, I'm in love with them, and so you know, that's how I lead. And those are stories I want to tell with 59th and Prairie. I want to have all those characteristics as a part of the stories that we tell.
Carrie, what stories are you going to be telling? And thank you.
I'm going to be watching those stories. You know, at Simpson Street, we kind of talk about the work we do in two ways. One is, I really like this idea of the company being named after a street like yours. We say we stand at the intersection of what makes us different and what makes us the same. That's our special sauce. You know, the specificity of what makes us different, we want our stories rooted in culture and identity and unique experiences, but what makes us the same is the love, that we all want to be loved, we want to be accepted, we want to belong, we have fears, we have desires. Those human qualities that are universal, we're always trying to traffic in both of those ideas. But I think part of our mandate is that we really are trying to also upend otherness. And what I mean by that is that when we say that somebody is other, we are assuming that somebody else is at the center, and often that person doesn't look like me. So when we're upending otherness, we're saying that every single one of us deserves to be the hero in the story of our lives, that every single one of us is a protagonist in the stories of our lives, and that should be represented in the content that we enjoy. So making sure that we're creating stories where women are at the center, where people of color are at the center, where LGBTQ folks are at the center, where we're centering all kinds of people so that we remind ourselves that heroes are all of us, so that we remind ourselves that we are all heroes.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. I will, I'll just add briefly, I didn't say too much about myself. I wanted to hear so much from you. I'm a storyteller as well.
A brilliant storyteller.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I try to weave a story of us together. Some of you have seen my PBS series, America Outdoors, comes on tonight. You may have read me in Puck. Please subscribe. You all have the money to. You literally have no excuse. It's not it. But the primary project has been this story that I think connects with a lot of what we've been talking about. It's called How to Citizen. And I just feel moved to announce something here that I haven't told anybody. My wife knows. But we're taking that to the next level. We're launching something called Citizen Future, which is telling the stories of the renewed democracy that we already see happening.
Amen.
That's happening all around the world, and helping people see that story so we can be that story. Democracy is in crisis, is dying, is hurting, and there's some new stuff being born. So we have to let go of some things, and we have to carry forward traditional beautiful things and give life to the new things that we're building. So if that sounds interesting to you, Google me. It's been such an honor to spend time with you like this. I've only seen you on the telly. I'm not British, I don't know why I said telly. This is how my non-nervousness shows up. Upending otherness. Leading with love.
Yes, amen.
You're doing citizening, all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.